this is the one that people seem to like. Maybe I'll read two, just because I'm into it now. This is the one that people seem to like the most, and I know it's been anthologized, which probably explains how it got on the internet somehow. This is called I'm the Pony in the Central Park Zoo. I am the pony in the Central Park Zoo, resting, and I am not thinking or dreaming, I am resting. I am your first grade gold star gummed at the top of a wide-ruled piece of paper, filled to the edges with names. Who am I? There, that dog across the street lifting up his left hind leg. I am the America of 500 years ago. I am a naked man hunting rabbits in the wilderness. There goes a rabbit. What a beautiful white tail he has. I am your vacation of cool blue lakes. I am the word beautiful when it is applied to everything. And I'll read this one, which is the last one in this short book. It's called 40 Years Ago. It was actually written 50 years ago. Never mind. 40 years ago. When my house is raked and they search through all the rooms, they find a bedroom covered with moss. They find that my furniture is hideous and that I have no taste, but they can't find me. 40 years ago, my peace was named and all of my errors proscribed. And 40 years ago, the sun was just as bright as the sun seems now. And in the attic, they find a road map completely unmarked. They find several campsites, several bikes, but they can't find me. Foolish traffic, ambulance haste, the war continues in a different place, but the armies have become invisible. 40 years ago, my well was poisoned, and my wisdom once more was postponed. And 40 years ago, the sun was just as bright as the sun seems now. Inside my life, they find a weapon, and in my lungs, a tree. And in my heart, they discover a mirror, but they can't find me. So many poems over so many years, but I thought I'd skip ahead a little bit because I've become, over the years, very much interested in, of course, in found poetry. There's a number of found poems in my second book called Luck. And then I began exploring what I call stolen rhymes, taking rhyme schemes from other poets and then writing the poems to those rhyme schemes. I suspect that I got the idea unconsciously from a number of instances of that in literature, but certainly I had heard about the literati, poets, painters in ancient China, who influenced a similar school in Japan, who took famous songs, folk songs, and wrote new poems to them, keeping the scanning and keeping the rhyme. So it would be equivalent to what sometimes kids used to do, like they take My Country 'Tis of Thee, blah, 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 and make up new words to it using the same rhymes. Or, on a higher level, the Psalms of David, I was surprised to find out, seem to, by textual evidence, have been written to known music of the time. So the poems were written for the music that had already existed. And in the Hebrew, apparently, you will see notations to that effect after most of the Psalms, and written to the music of something, blah, blah, whatever. So I would just read a few of these to give you a sort of tease about these. Of course, the way I do them is a little strange, but you'll see. The first ones I tackled were Shakespeare's sonnets. So I'll read you the Shakespearean sonnet and then how I transformed it by taking the rhymes. Not the scanning, that's another area that I'm still investigating, but just the rhymes themselves. So this is the Shakespearean sonnet, the fifth one in the usual lineup. Those hours that with gentle work did frame the lovely gaze where every eye doth dwell, will play the tyrants to the very same, and that unfair which foully doth excel. For never resting time laid summer on to hideous winter and confounds him there. Sap checked with frost and lusty leaves quite gone, beauty o'ersnowed and bareness everywhere. There were not summer's desolation left, a liquid prisoner pent in walls of glass. Beauty's effect with beauty were bereft, nor it nor remembrance what it was, but flowers distilled though they with winter meet, least but their show, their substance still lives sweet. And my poem, inspired by the rhyming scheme, goes like this. All things important outside the frame are not. You see, we all dwell in a movie that is not the same and cannot, will not ever excel. Whatever it is the camera's on. We are never here, but always there, where the flux has finally gone. Inside the fear and tenor where smoke and dust and trust are left of your world of broken glass. Even the photography is bereft of what for a moment really was. The temperature where we will meet, that judgment that is all too sweet. There's sort of like this haunting effect of Shakespeare without being Shakespeare. I'll read another one without reading you the Shakespearean source. Too much humanity, too much light, all gone in the blink of an eye, to hide behind the disguise of sight, to shield us from so much majesty. I thought the mountain merely a hill, and saw that I would age, but I am now much younger still, in the middle of this pilgrimage. Too much laughter in the car, and too many nightmares in the day, is why we are the way we are, and cannot be another way. At supper time, in love, or at noon, when we turn from our gruesome sun. That last line is very Perreault. And another example of what I've been doing is, after I ran out of my favorite poems at Palgrave's anthology, and I'm still reworking them, I thought, well, who's my really most favorite poet is Emily Dickinson. And she has these really odd rhymes and odd line endings, so why don't I try that work with her works? So as you know, you get this big, thick book that has every single one of her poems. So, in fact, I know, for good reason, there are 1,774 poems in the collected poems of Emily Dickinson, and I have written poems based on the stolen rhymes of each one of them. Still polishing. So, I'll read you one example of her poem, and then my taking her end rhymes. This is poem number 511. If you were coming in the fall, I'd brush the summer by, with half a smile and half a spurn, as housewives do a fly. If I could see you in a year, I'd wind the months in balls, and put them each in separate drawers, until their time befalls. If only centuries delayed, I'd count them on my hand, subtracted till my fingers dropped into Van Diemen's land. If certain when this life was out, that yours and mine should be, I'd toss it yonder like a rhyme, and taste eternity. But now, all ignorant of the length of time's uncertain wing, it goes me like the goblin bee, that will not state its sting. So a kind of minimalist version of this, using her N words, and her great, great, wonderful love lines, is a poem I call The Fall. The further I fall, the more I'm by, that I spurn as I fly. The vaulted year and balls or drawers is a fuse, that delayed by words at hand is dropped upon the land. Figuring it out, and what I'll be is a rind of my eternity, where neither length nor between under the bed, where neither length nor between, white fingers, her hair, her lips, her oven, all mean, all fair. I will not escape through doors or by going abroad the pregnant hours. The tests I've borne of both rose and more are paradise. These clever moments poked along our feet, our song, and I am naked again outside your tongue. So, 1,774 of those. And of course, I also was interested in writing fiction, and at one point it was, let's see, 70. What the date now? Sorry, 89. Published this collection of short stories called Hotel Death and Other Tales, which, of course, I think is a classic. It got some good reviews, and you can still get copies of it on Amazon.com, of course. So the idea is, the next thing to conquer is the novel, of course, after you've written a collection of short stories. So for the last 5 years, I've been working on a novel, which will take up most of the rest of the reading, called The, T-H-E, all caps. And it is inspired by a doll, a toy, a puppet that Jeff and I found at Shirley Antique. So I want to introduce you to STEFAN, who I think you'll see that he's not exactly innocent looking. And when I read this section, which is chapter 2 of The, you may not want to go into the Shirley Mall again or have a puppet in your bedroom. But it is also, and it's a little difficult to pick one chunk out of a novel. It's not that long a novel, it's under 300 words, but it's quite complicated. But I took out chapter 2, which sort of encompasses the main theme of STEFAN and his puppethood, so to speak. But someone asked me what kind of novel I was working on, and I said it's an old-fashioned avant-garde novel, and we broke into hysterical laugh. There couldn't be such a thing. But that is exactly what it is. With that said, I will read chapter 2, which is actually chapter 3 of the real book, but never mind about that. You can, by the way, I should say, since it's not published yet and probably won't be for at least a year or so, read the whole thing by going to my website, johnperreault.com, and reading it there as a scroll or downloading it. Or if that's too difficult, you can go to scribe.com and search for my name, and the whole novel will come up. So chapter 2 is called STEFAN, and I hope you will be quiet while I'm reading this and not disturb my reading here. Once upon a time, 2 men lived together for many years, sharing everything. One was named Jonathan, and the other was named Johnny. Nearby, there was a very old store with very old merchandise that people had left behind or had. Oh, I forgot another thing. I decided also, when I'm through reading this, that I would read a chunk of my new novel. So don't go away and run out the door screaming after you go to the end of chapter 2, because there'll be a short 4-part section from my new novel. So anyway, nearby there was a very old store with very old merchandise that people had left behind or had traded in for new models or had sold to the owner so that they could afford Black Spider, a very potent and extremely addictive drug. Is that enough, I asked? Is this the way you treat tourists in this country? Was. One afternoon, when they were foraging in the store, Johnny came across a very crudely made wooden doll. There were 12 handmade joints. It had buttons for eyes, and a mouth that had been carved into the wood with a very crude instrument, possibly a chisel. The joints allowed Johnny and Jonathan to play with the doll, sitting him up, putting him in various positions. He could put his arms in the air to surrender. He could wave. If you held him up by the shoulders, he could seem to walk. He had no tooth. Johnny wondered if that was good or bad, and I think we'll keep him in the extra bedroom. Able. Fine, says Jonathan, but let's see if Stefan agrees. No centers were created. A center would seek a body, invade, and then the body would have this terrible compulsion to seek another center. It all seems so pointless. Jonathan, surprising Johnny, then dangles Stefan on his knee. But then again, Johnny had not yet cracked the code. He had not yet discovered what was supposed to happen next. Okay, our little Stefan, our little naked handmade boy, do you agree to sleep in the extra bedroom? 2. Johnny, on the other hand, kept changing drugs. Today it was going to be Ozzy, which came in a distinctive plastic envelope and was the kind of pink powder you could just rub on your main tube, and it supposedly took effect immediately. Then Jonathan surprised Johnny by moving Stefan's hand to the left, Stefan's head to the left and right, and in a high-pitched voice, making Stefan speak. No, I want to sleep with the 2 of you. Who had died? Things had causes, events too. X caused Y, B caused C, F caused R, P caused T, M plus X equaled W. The world was neat, the world was real. He didn't see that this meant he was not free. Freedom was one of his goals. He counted upon the illusion of freedom to get him through the day, the week, the year. Dreams could not be discounted, but they belonged to another plane. Splinters, they decided, would be a problem. But sometimes as a special treat, when Stefan was afraid of having bad dreams, they let him sleep on the chair in their bedroom. But when he was there, they were not inclined to have sex in front of him. He was, they agreed, too young. He tried to join in, or sometimes he would start kissing Johnny when he and Johnny were alone, and Johnny had to punish him by putting him in the closet. Once he had even tied him up. His. One day, 2 friends came to visit. They were both named Harold. It was a special visit because they had come to show off the doll they had purchased, a young man carved in a very realistic manner. And Harold had dressed him in a very grown-up way. He wasn't naked like Stefan. He had a very realistic little mouth and glass eyes. Later, Johnny and Jonathan decided that their Stefan, although he wasn't as obedient as the realistic puppet boy, was much more lovable. Left. Oh, I don't mean propeller. I meant vanilla, said Johnny. I slapped you because I wanted to kiss you. I get the 2 mixed up, and I'm being treated for a terrible problem. Stefan, however, who had been hiding in the closet, hadn't heard them say this. There were 6 drugs on his shopping list. They all had different effects, and they were all extremely addictive. He went through them in his mind. He, of course, had tried them all out. That evening at dinner time, Stefan appeared and demanded to be allowed to eat. He didn't want to just sit there on his special chair and watch them. He actually wanted to eat. His hands were dirty and his face was dirty. After getting bored with hiding in the closet to punish them for lavishing so much attention on the cute boy, perfect puppet, he decided that he would dig a hole in the front yard. Johnny tried to be kind after cleaning Stefan's dirty hands and dirty face. He was trying to explain that although he had a mouth, he couldn't really open and shut it, and all the sounds he made were really Jonathan throwing his voice. So how could he eat if he couldn't open and shut his mouth? Hand. Stefan went into one of his rages. I can stick the food up my ass. I can do that. I can stick it up my ass. My friend Harold took some black spider and said it was the best drug he had ever used. Johnny and Jonathan loved Stefan a great deal, and although they laughed about his crazy idea, they decided he would have to be punished. So they tied him up and left him all night in the closet in the extra bedroom. He was shouting so much, Johnny couldn't sleep. He was having bad dreams. Should they let him come into the bed with them? No. He had to be taught a lesson. Harold, aren't you Harold? The next day he ran away. They looked everywhere, high and low, up and down the coast. They posted signs everywhere. Stefan, if you see this puppet, please let us know immediately. If you have stolen him, just leave him on our doorstep. No questions asked. Reward. Someone asked that a great deal of money be left in a suitcase on the dock, but when they did that, no one ever showed up, and there was no STEFAN. Isn't that confusing? Someone pretended to be STEFAN, but only got away with it for a few days. He was not as charming as their STEFAN, and he did not have a large vocabulary like the real STEFAN. Also, he was just a little bit too cooperative, a little too desperate, and then they had an idea. It came to them simultaneously. Little. If you were STEFAN, where would you go? Home. Where was home? They went to the junk shop where they had found him, and there he was, just as before, sitting on the floor grinning. So they took him back, although they both knew he was angry inside. Well, yes, responded Johnny, but it's worth it. And the hug lasts for 24 hours. His voice came out of Johnny's mouth. Does it really let you see the? I never saw the when I was taking it, but I did understand that seeing the might be different from seeing a chair or a table, so that was worth something. Leave me alone, I hate both of you. I want to stay where I belong. You don't really love me. You only love each other. I'm just a toy. I will run away again, and next time you will never find me, never. So that's chapter 2 of the story of STEFAN. And then I couldn't resist reading a little bit of my new novel, because this one's basically finished, except for filling the type and stuff. And my plan is that for those of you who follow such things, you know that the internet has killed books and bookshops and all that stuff. And writers are perplexed to know what to do about all of this. So my idea is, since I know so much about the art world and how things work there, that one possibility would be to turn a novel such as into a kind of limited edition artwork. So that's my plan now, to have